Oh, we live. We back. Seed Talk stuff to make it. Man, it's all three of us again. I tried to switch it up. I tried, man. We've been really busy. Bobby been on his fatherhood in all seriousness. I think Precious got about 5 or 6 jobs. He's part Caribbean. And whoa, what is going on? We got Ace Ventura, Peck Detective over there.
Crazy.
What's going on? And I got a lot more free time because I still got to work as an administrator, but it hits different when you don't have teachers and students in the building. So I've been trying to like really just front load a whole bunch of episodes, but we back here. Let's get some stuff out of the way real quick. It's Seed Talk again, stuff to make your seeds walk. Make sure that you're sharing this, please. Please share this. Comment. Let your friends know. People know that we're doing Seed Talk. If you want to talk about something, you want a topic, please inbox any one of us and be on the show. If you want to be on the show, let us know. Long as your criminal record is okay. No, I'm just joking. We gotta have fingerprints, but it's all good. Make sure you donate if you feel it in your heart and your mind. In your spirit to donate, $ Logic I Man at Logic I Man on Venmo. I just want to get into it, man. A lot of people have been talking about they cloned Tyrone. They're talking about it was a great film. I want to start it off like this, man, because I think that this film is dropping some breadcrumbs and some Easter eggs in it. And it's like, you can use some of this stuff to, improve your community or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I want to start it off like this. I want to first start off with, what is your rating on a grading scale, high school, elementary school, grading scale from A being really, really good, A+ being really, really good, to F or E. They got E's now. We grew up with F's. What would you give it on that scale? And then what is your rubric? What's your reasoning for that rating? And I think that will allow us to unpack it. Because that's kind of what I had to do with the film. Because I watched it 3 times. And I watched it 3 times because the third time was when I was fully conscious through the whole movie. So I went to bed on it twice, and then I picked up where I left off and finally finished it off. That's not no shade towards the film like it was boring or anything. I want to see if y'all think it was boring. I think I need to watch it one more time all the way through, but I pretty much think I got it down. I'll go first. I'm gonna give it a C+, man. I'm gonna give it a C+. It's approaching above average to me. And that's not no knock. I don't want no one in the comments out there where, do you do that to the white movies? Man, stop it, man. Are you guys going to do this for some white movies? No, probably not. Probably not. Because we're focused on Black cinema. You know what I'm saying? We think we're focused on all things Black community related. So I gave it a C+. I thought Jamie Foxx's acting was dope. What's the old boy's name? Who was the British
Boyega, I believe his name.
Yeah, I thought everyone's point blank. I thought everyone's acting was dope.
Mm-hmm.
It was good to see what's the old boy's name? Sutherfield or Sutherford, whatever dude's name is.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Keith Sutherland, part himself. I ain't seen him in a minute, so it was cool to see him in a Black movie. It just reminded me of a throwback Black exploitation movie. So, and we know what they're about. I'll save my rest of my commentary for later, but Precious, what you think? What would you give it?
Honestly, I would give it a B-. Like, the acting was pretty good. It did have a nice flow of the plot. The climax was pretty good to it. Had the climax of it when they went to the laboratory. Went to that.
Whoa! Spoiler alert.
Okay, my bad. But I like the climax of it. Pretty good. I like the music that they played out throughout I think they had a good choice of music that they played throughout the movie. I thought it was pretty good. I like music and films. I think I'll give it a B minus. I don't think it's revolutionary. If people making it seem like it's revolutionary, if so, they need to get out and touch the grass, because I definitely find that anything revolutionary at all. I thought it was a good movie, but it is not a movie we have not seen before. I mean, I think it was just another black film with some comedy, maybe a little bit of a little bit of conspiracy sort of thing, make you think, but not anything that we haven't already seen. And I don't see this movie doing any impact, because again, we have movies like this in the past, and what kind of impact did those movies have since those movies was released? So that's my take on it in terms of rating. Go ahead, Bobby.
What you think? What you give it, Bobby?
I'll just say B. It's just the easiest way. I watched it. It was kind of like reading a book, where I'm putting it down, picking it up. I think that some elements of it were so strongly borrowed from previous iterations during black exploitation film era that it was just kind of like a rerun, for those of us who have actually watched some of those. So I wasn't necessarily shocked by it or overly impressed. I thought in a lot of ways it was a return to consciousness, though, which is always good. I think a lot of the entertainment that is aimed towards us is oftentimes a break from reality, but also kind of a distraction. And I hate using that word, because then there'll be a post on Facebook next week like, if there's any news at all, it's a distraction from something else, which isn't. It's not that kind of distraction. But I did think that the film touched on some things like the role of the church in the black community, the role of narcotics, the role of sex work, for example. I think those are topics that are up for debate, but I didn't think that it was revolutionary. So I share Precious thoughts on that. And ultimately, I thought that it was a good opportunity for Netflix to reintroduce a genre that has already been well versed, but 50 years ago. So good on Netflix for bringing something back, just like clothing. If bell bottoms came back, that's kind of the comparison I could make.
Yeah, my thing was this, man. After I watched it, and I was like, I watched it the first time, went to bed, then I watched it again, went to bed. In between those two times, there was like 2 or 3 days in between, because I was setting it aside like it was dessert, you know. And the reason why I say that is because every time that I went to bed on it, I'd wake up and everyone's fire. It's fire. Oh my God, this is this is so dope. It's such a good movie. I'm like, what am I missing? So let me just set it aside. And I kept looking for something that I came to the realization wasn't there, like the fruit snacks. It wasn't there. And it was finally when I was with my guy Top, shout out to Barry. I was playing tennis with him, and it was a little break in the action, and I was like, man, so what'd you think, man? Did you think that They Cloned Tyrone was dope? And he was like, yeah, it was good. It was nothing deep, but it was cool. And that's when it hit me. I was looking for something. I was looking for this deep, fire, revolutionary movie that isn't there. So let me ask you something real quick. Do you think when you really look at it, you think it was kind of mocking, like the revolution or revolutionary acts? I mean, the way they went about it?
Like trying to mock in a disrespectful way. I mean, I didn't get anything of someone being mocked, in my personal opinion. I will say that they kind of made light of certain situations that we have talked about in society in the past. I'm gonna say keyword chicken. What we have said about chicken in our community. But other than that, I think it's mocking. No, I just think that it's bringing up topics or elements that has been talked about already in our society to add it to this movie to create some sort of thought. That's all I got from it.
Yeah, the reason why I say mocking, because it's like I talked to Bobby about this offline. It was like they really went after the low hanging fruit in the movie. It's like, so you mean to tell me only the criminals, like the main criminal characters in our community, are the only ones being mocked? Really? It's really the drug dealer, the pimp, and the sex worker that are being cloned? What about the education system? What about politicians? What about even the racist people that are making the actual institutions that are oppressing them? All those people are just cloned. Like the whole thing, the whole neighborhood is cloned, from the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the beautiful. And I feel like if you simplify it, that it's just these band of criminals in the church that is cloned and nothing else, then it's kind of like, what about all the other elements that cause that to be? Those are just pawns in the chess game. Why aren't law enforcement cloned? Why isn't the judicial system cloned? Why isn't the school system cloned? You know what I'm saying? Why aren't the politician cloned? Like, they literally clone, the two-party system clones the same issues to argue about every single year, every single election cycle. It's like, it's a clone. It's a clone of the one that came before. It's just they got the same things in their bag they're going to argue about, right? Gun control, abortion, now it's reparations, affirmative action, rewind, let's do it again. Let's just clone the same thing. And I felt like to go after the pimp, the sex worker, and the drug dealer in the church was just low-hanging fruit. That's why I thought, like, it's really not that deep. Like,
it really isn't. It really wasn't. I mean, watching movie.
I'm like, are our standards so low that people online? That's what I want to talk about.
But my response to you at the time was that's also what people wanted to see. Like, you could have done it about a teacher, a lawyer, and an accountant, but they aimed this film at certain folks. And those certain folks, they felt like, wanted to see a story about X, Y, and Z. And we can assign the letters to the characters if we want. But it's my opinion that was intentional, and you're calling it low-hanging fruit, but this is a form of entertainment that people were choosing to engage in, and they chose characters that those people wanted to engage with. I mean, I think that's, you and I are saying the same thing, that you think that's fascinating. You want to talk about that. Why are those the characters that we want to see? Because we're the clones. It's just great. It's a great circle, a great ontology, as you would say. So to me, that's the challenge, is that you're saying it's a low-hanging fruit, but I'm saying it's also what we want. And that's apparent, because look at the success.
True.
Well, that's why I came to the realization. It feels like, institutions like Netflix, because they now, they're a qualified institution. Netflix is an institution. If they can drive certain narratives and they have the control to broadcast certain, programming, for us, and they can be also dictated by the public, by what should be and should not be seen based on whoever is on their cancel campaign, then that's why I'm like, it's kind of mocking the revolution. But you know what? If I say that, then I would have to say the same thing about Black exploitation movies. Black exploitation movies constantly, what I'm saying, it was just, it just came across as a mockery, not to be taken serious. Don't take this stuff seriously. But I think the difference is, and I know the difference is who were making the Black exploitation movies as opposed to now. So now it kind of seems a little appropriationist ish. When Netflix is cloning, maybe that might be the irony in the whole thing. They Cloned Tyrone is really about a white dominated industry culturally appropriating and cloning, Black culture and Black movies and Black art. I mean, because what if Netflix just went on this string where, they're just producing a whole bunch of black exploitation films.
Why
But
wouldn't they?
but you know what? But this is a black filmmaker too, though. So I guess that doesn't really fit the mathematics.
You know, I'm glad that we're saying this type of stuff because it kind of started make me wonder about a lot of the movies that we have seen from like black directors or whatever, especially when it comes to, I hate to say it like this, like when it comes to slave movies or whatever or anything historical, we kind of do the same thing as well. Like we stay latching on, like you said, low hanging fruit titles or well known events that happen in our community to make money off of it. Like, I swear, it's like every 3 to 5 years we have a new Emmett Till movie. It's like every 3 years we have another Martin Luther King movie. It's like every 5 years we got a new civil rights movie. Like they pick these type of topics because they know that black people are going to watch it in some shape or form. So it is is it because we have low expectation? I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, we do. We do. I ain't gonna say as all of us individually, but as a collective, as the numbers show, yeah, we do got low expectation because they know what type of topic is going to draw the crowd, and that's what they do. And I'm not sure if that was the idea for They Cloned Tyrone, but since you put it in that sort of context, it probably was the same idea for that one as well.
Yeah, I struggle with this because when you talk about who's producing the film, we can, depending on the level of conspiracy that we want to assign, it's not unnatural to then say, well, they're choosing the directors that are willing to put forth what they want to see, which is the same criticism, right, that we have of black police officers and black educators and black prosecutors and black fill in the blank institution that doesn't work for black people that black people work at. They're like, oh, well, they cherry pick those individuals because they'll go along. And now we're full into the conspiracy mode that none of us have control over anything. So, but then we also know that's partially true. So, yeah, it's absolutely true that organizations hire people who are consistent with their own values. And then the question is just whether there's any difference at all between you and every other employee there. And so, again, to Logic's point, this larger point, everyone's a clone. So, yeah, that's kind of funny in a way because it gets to this greater question of what impact does anybody have? Does anybody have any ability to do anything to change anything at all? Or are we all just the latest incantation or incarnation of the last person who did our job? Am I the latest progressive, semi-progressive prosecutor who wants to be fair? Or is Logic just Lawrence Fishburne in that movie about a high school principal in a tough neighborhood?
Stand by me.
Stand by me? Is that you? Are you Lawrence? Like,
no, that's not Lawrence.
No, that's Morgan Freeman. I thought you were talking about higher learning. I thought you were talking about higher learning.
Morgan Freeman. Samuel Jackson would be upset with me right now. But I'm just saying, like, in that respect, we can all just substitute name, new person, same role. And so that's why this conversation is difficult, because the same criticisms that we have of the film, same criticisms that we have of the institutions, like we all do the same thing every day. Because we do operate within a larger institution. So I see the irony in it, and it's really hard to escape. And maybe that's the genius of the movie, is that it makes you ask yourself that question, whether what you're doing is making a difference, or are you ultimately just pushing the status quo?
Let me ask you a question real quick. Now that you said that brings up a good question. It's like, how would you respond and how would you feel if you knew you were hired because you fit the criteria of a black person that they're trying to clone for their franchise or for their business? Like, how would you, I'm just going to leave it open-ended. Like, how would you respond?
Well, I mean, I think there's a scene right there, right, where Tyrone, he realizes who he is and like his role. And he has this initial sort of reaction like, well, I guess I got to go out there and do my thing, like he's kind of resigned to the fact before it even occurs to him to challenge it. And I think that I would sort of have that same sort of frustration of, I put so much time and effort into qualifying for these positions, only to find out that I was only allowed to be here so that I could do more of the master's work. That would be really frustrating for me. Especially in this turn into logic I'm in here, especially in this crass capital consumer economy, blah blah blah. Insert vocab words, because I do gotta pay my mortgage, right? So like, to the extent that you can buck the system and pay your mortgage, you try to do that. But if you have too many bills, you might just be stuck with having not only dirty hands, but hands that you're looking at that are dirty, as opposed to just kind of being there and being like, oh, there's this fluorescent substance on my hand and I don't know what it is. No, you would know what it was at that point. So that would be a challenge, but I guess I would just do the best that I could. I don't even know what that looks like though.
You think that you fit into that? You think you fit into being a clone right now in your present job? And we're gonna get to Precious.
The only reason why I don't is because I run into so much resistance.
Right.
With some of the decisions that I make, where I run into someone who says you can't do that, and then I gotta push back, and we gotta do this whole dance about whether or not I'm gonna be able to utilize the same discretion that everybody else who's ever done this job has had, but I just want to do it a different way. So in that way, I'm affirmed that if I'm a clone, then I'm a little bit like RoboCop and I have a little bit more discretion than your average clone. So then I would just be a mid-level clone instead of 100% carbon copy.
I feel the same way about you. But I feel like I got to be a clone because I got hired. Because if I wasn't, I wouldn't even have gotten hired. So I went through their schooling system, you know what I'm saying, to act a certain way. I follow their code of conduct, and I'm definitely highly aware and conscientious of how to keep HR off my back. So I definitely have clone-like tendencies. But then I have flashes of revolutionary I have flashes of revolutionary decorum also too, where I'm always pushing the element. But then at the same time,
air, is that what happens?
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, I know when to fall back into clone mode. But Precious, how would you feel if you knew you were hired because you are a clone? Like you have, like they're like, oh, she's perfect. Yep, she's a clone. Let's get her.
I don't know. That's a tricky one. Because if I have to think about let's say the last 5 years of my career, this is gonna sound crazy. I think people were trying to clone me. I don't think I would have cloned for anybody. I think people try to clone me. Like they like how I did the work, or they like the quality, the attribute that they try to find a clone of me. Like right now, they still haven't filled my old position. Like it's hard to find my replacement, so it's gonna take a longer time than they expected. So I don't know if I think if at any point in time I was a clone, would probably be in the job I was fired from when I was in my early 20s. That's probably the only time I probably was a clone. And yeah, that didn't obviously for obvious reasons that didn't turn out too well, because I had a bit of a resistance myself, because a lot of stuff they expect a clone to do I wasn't willing to do, because a lot of that stuff didn't make any sense. Or let's say I did try to tempt it, oh, it's not like what the clone did. Well, what the clone did before me didn't do it right correctly. So yeah, I don't know if I would hire for this job because I was a clone. Nah, because I had different qualities than the person who was in that position previously. So I would say, if anything, I was the prototype or the blueprint of a clone.
But is that? I mean, I'm not judging you, but it's like, no. It's like it's there's two sides to this. So on one hand, then I would say, why are you? If you're not a clone, why are you still employed there? That would be the first question.
Okay,
and then the second question would be, if you're the prototype, in this example, wouldn't you agree that is the worst? That is the worst role you can have, because then that would just suggest that you would become more efficient at what the master was requesting. Like you would never be given the keys like that. You would never be the mold for the next one if you were not doing their work better than the previous one. That's just an improvement. And what is that? The Terminator? You're the T2, and the previous person was the T1. That's the only way to view that, but that's just my opinion. So
I mean, that's one way to look at it too. That's one way to look at
Yeah.
it. It is a worse spot to be in. It is.
You know, my thing is watching this movie is what I got a little bit frustrated with is you took 3 really low hanging fruit characters and you put them out there for the public to digest, and they don't have the education to say there's other clones in our community. They're not going to break things down. A lot of people, they're not even going to be like, man, it was just a movie, man. Come on, man, let it go. It's like when my partner used to watch Lion King, and me and Wayman used to be like, hey, man, that's a deep movie, bro. That's on some Cain and Abel. That's kind of like biblical. He's like, it was a movie about cartoon lions. No, it wasn't.
Oh no, there was a lot of elements in Lion
Yeah,
King.
and I'm like, no, man, that's African folklore. That's creation stories. Like that movie is deep. It talks about,
is.
you know what I'm saying, our community, bro. It was a cartoon about lions, bro, and some monkeys. And I'm like, and we just left it alone. But my thing is that we throw movies out there and we never really talk about them. And then we call them fire. Oh, that was dope. Was it? Because I'm not really seeing how dope the movie is until just right now. Like we're having a conversation and I'm about to go back to work and I'm thinking about everyone from who's an attorney for the stuff that you do, who's an educator, all the way down to the dollar store manager. Basically what that movie is telling you, if you don't want to be a freaking clone, we got someone coming down a conveyor belt that's going to replace you. That looks just like you, but doesn't look like you. But once they put their uniform on, they're going to look just like you. So go ahead, what you want to do. And that was kind of like a trivial moment with all 3 members. Is like, who wants to abandon and get rid of their position in the community? And then they'd be like, if I'm not a clone and have clone-like, tendencies and abilities, I have no life outside of what I've been cloned to be. What am I going to do? And the realization is that, spoiler alert, at one point in the movie, they said, you want to know what you're going to be? You're going to be walking around aimlessly, not knowing what to do. You're going to be a zombie. You're going to be dead. You're going to be dead to the world. And that's how I took it. Remember how they were looking on TV and they released all the captives? Mm-hmm. They weren't doing anything productive, fam. They were just walking around because if they weren't being cloned and programmed, they had no plan in life.
But that's not deep though. That's a callback to a time when you say released. Think about this. This is right before the Reconstruction policy started, right when freedom was given initially to Rick DeSantis and all the stuff that we're hearing now about training. A lot of the comments that come out that we still deal with in terms of Black people being lazy or not wanting to work come out of this period right at the end of slavery, where Black people are basically let out of a form of incarceration, but they don't have a plan. And that the movie is showing you kind of what that looks like in a modern context of being released from this cloning. Because if you think about slavery, is the ultimate clone system, where you're a worker, right? And what do? You're forced to replicate yourself through breeding, and you have to even breed a stronger version of yourself. And that one comes out the belt to take your spot, picking that cotton or that tobacco or that sugar cane. And if we take this from you, you will not have a place in society. Mm-hmm. Exactly the same. So there's genius in that too. So maybe we underrated the movie a bit, because I think, now we're having a conversation about it. I think that it had some good callbacks. That's what I'll say. It had some really good historical callbacks that maybe you didn't see the first time, but having this conversation, I'm seeing more and more that it brought some points up. Fresh.
Okay, and now you know what? Now that you said it, and now it got me thinking. And I know we're not trying to spoil the movie, but it kind of goes to this part where the white man said a particular trigger word, and it locked everybody up. Everybody cannot move. So yeah, and even to the point to where they can have one of the clones destroy another clone. So it's kind of like back to what you were talking about, like the Reconstruction era, where, or even during slavery time, that if a slave didn't want to get out of order, they probably could order another slave to take that slave out if they don't want to abide by the rules of what the white man had out for them to do. So I don't know. There may be some more stuff. Maybe we, I don't know. Maybe more to it. But also, after they pulled a Nat Turner to overturn everything, they flipped the script on them and learned the same code. So I don't know.
Well, you can say that the movie was deeper and more, revolutionary than we thought it was, or maybe, just maybe, another way to look at it is that we're making the movie a lot more stronger in our interpretation and translation than it really was.
Maybe.
There's a possibility. That happens all the time. I know that as an artist. When I put something out there, I'm always flattered and very grateful that someone can take, that hammer that I gave someone and they start building houses, and malls and condominiums and whole fortresses. Like, I just gave you a hammer. So I think we may be giving the writer, director, and producers of the show a little bit more credit than they even thought they were doing. They just wanted to make something not to say they made something, weak or something easy to do, but I think I don't think we should overlook or ignore, our interpretation of the movie and how we're translating and articulating it. I want to go back to something Bobby said, and he had a good point about how the part in the movie where they were kind of walking around after they'd been cloned, they didn't know what they wanted to do, and what they were going to do is kind of like, it's a metaphor for us when we were released from slavery and we didn't have no jobs, That is true, but that was like a short time. Like, I always say this to people, and I know I ruffle some feathers. They'd be like, the slogan, "Make America Great Again." People be like, when was America ever great for us? What's the again? And I push back on that. And I say probably like the 10 to 15 years after we released from slavery. Those were great times for us because Bobby was right. We walked around and we were like, can we get a job? No. Can we get a job? No. I mean, I'll work for, minimum wage or less than minimum wage before there was even minimum wage. I'll work for damn near free because I've been doing it for years. No. You know what he said? I'm going to go ahead and take these skills to South Beach and I'm going to create my own businesses. That's the time that was really great for us. You know what I'm saying? And I think the flip and the reversal for the movie, when we going to clone that? When we going to clone that time in history where we take everything that we learned from working on the plantation? Because, the modern day work week, is built off of plantation work. I could argue that our whole economy is based on plantation politics, especially when you're looking at sports, which is one of the biggest revenue, garnishers in this country. I mean, those combines and those workouts look like auction blocks where they're just interviewing and placing slaves on different plantations, which are called football, baseball, and basketball teams, you name it. So I think that we need to come to a time how we apply this is when we going to start cloning that. And and to give us more credit than I'm giving us right now, I think, this especially during COVID, I saw a lot of black folks, especially black women, starting their own businesses and cloning, you know what I'm saying, the supervision and the management that's over them in the form of, you know what I'm saying, a boss. They've cloned that and become their own boss. Now, I don't, you know, I always be waiting for the other foot to drop, though, because, you know, the system's always going to figure out some kind of way to regulate it, whether it be taxes or something. You know what I'm saying? You know, Prohibition taught us that. You can't just be out here selling stuff and not paying the government in some kind of form of taxes. So I'm just kind of like figuring out how we can use what they were doing in the movie to apply it to our present condition. I mean, is that something? Is it that deep? Is it that deep that we're supposed to look at a movie called They Cloned Tyrone and then figure out how we can apply it to our present condition in our communities and our families?
I mean, that's the purpose of all entertainment that's conscious, is to make us attempt to have some sort of substantive change, I would think. I remember one of my favorite songs of all time, Mos Def, New World Water. Like, that's a song from 1990, and he's talking about the inevitable water shortage. And he's you can laugh and take it as a joke if you wanna, but it don't rain for 4 weeks some summers. And like that line is talking about how there's places in this country where they don't have water for a month. And that is attempting to tell you maybe watering your grass is not that important. But my dad gonna water that grass though. So, you know, to the extent that is published, as we say in the law, that is published and put out to a third person, of course it's attempting to change behavior. But like you said, to the point of how do you do it, I think one of the greatest frustrations for our philosophers in the modern context of Black politics is that there are so many different entertainers and athletes that could potentially essentially start an entire new economic system within our community for that feeds us. Like, we could have Black nationalism. There's enough people with enough money, if it was just a money problem, to essentially start our own banks, etc. But it's not happening.
Why don't they think they're doing it? I'm forced to think there's got to be something.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it's just about money, that's not a problem in the modern context. Anthony Davis just got $60 million a year extension. There's a Nigerian European soccer player, Kylian Mbappe, who's just offered $700 million to play soccer for 365 days. Okay. So if we're talking about whether there's enough money to do something drastic, it exists, but is there an appetite for it? Is there truly an appetite for it? Like,
no.
That's where I sometimes want to hold myself accountable and just be honest. Like, look, I got a lot of good stuff happening, right? And I want to help people as much as I can, but I'm also accountable to my own child above everybody else. And I think that that's what everybody says. And then if you multiply those up, you end up with a lot of people who have means and the ability to change, and they're not in a position, truthfully, where they're incentivized to take on the risk. And that's what makes a Martin Luther King Jr., at least me as an adult now, when I look at those guys, that's what makes them legendary. Not the public speaking. I can do the public speaking. Okay, that's nothing for me. It's not the writing. I can do the writing. That's nothing for me. But to put yourself on the line when you have the family, when you have the mortgage payment, that's impressive. That's legendary. That's what makes them heroes. So and I think that's why it's hard.
Yeah, you know what was crazy? I'm glad you brought that up. Because on one end, if you listen to Malcolm, he would tell you that Martin was a clone.
Sure he would. They had different philosophies.
He did. He told when he called that man, Hey, Malcolm was a cold piece, man.
Yeah, he was. I love
Hey,
him
man,
though.
Malcolm talks so bad about Martin. That's one of the things I said, man, you could have done better, bro. When he called that man an Uncle Tom, every time he called him an Uncle Tom, he was calling him a clone.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's saying you're chosen for a reason. You've been allowed to do what you're doing for a reason.
Right.
But he was allowed to do what he was doing for a reason. He was easy to take down because of all his character failures early in life.
Right.
So that's ironic.
And not to mention that NOI is they literally breed clones.
True.
They literally do. They literally
clones
do.
of Muhammad.
They do. Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, bow tie, no facial hair, part in the middle, bean pie, brother.
Wavy hair.
We're not gonna get on the minister today. We're gonna leave the minister alone.
No, we're not getting on. Come on, man. Come on, man.
We're gonna leave the minister alone.
My Nation of Islam brothers know I love them. These are low-hanging fruit jokes that go throughout our community.
I know. Listen, they're gonna try and sell me a newspaper next time I'm up there.
But I just think that, let me ask y'all this. Is there something wrong with there being a clone? That's another thing. When I was watching the movie, it seemed kind of anti-clonish.
Like, it depends what's the purpose of the clone. Like, what's their mission?
Yeah. Say more.
Yeah, say more. Yeah. She's like, that's all I got. That's
yeah, like for real. Like, it depends on their mission. Like just imagine we did had a clone of Martin Luther King after he got assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine we had another one that came right up behind it.
There you go.
Continue on after the Civil Rights Act got pushed on, and we got into the 70s. Just imagine we did have a clone, or even a Malcolm X. What happened? If we did have a clone, but at the same time, do all people need to be cloned? I don't think so. Like, I ain't trying to bring them up. Do we need another clone of Hitler? Hell no. Do we need another clone? Do we need another clone of Richard Nixon? Hell no. We don't need no clone of those people. So it depends on their mission and the purpose of them being cloned.
See, but to your point, when I think about post Martin, I think about Bobby Seeley. I think about Fred Hampton. I think about all these people, and I think that whoever was making the clones realized, oh, we gave this one a little bit too much sauce. And they wiped out that whole line. Truthfully, they whacked all of them.
You're right.
The best one was Fred Hampton, and they whacked him. They did not let that man, they whacked him in his sleep. Everybody else got whacked standing up awake. That shows you the respect level, the fear associated. They called this man a messiah in government documents. They whacked him in his sleep. You saw what they did with narcotics and Huey Newton. So they took out.
I thought he was doing a little something else in that.
He was doing extras, but I'm just saying.
I think he was doing another form of sleeping. But that's.
I'm just saying they took out that whole line. So I do think that there were people who could follow that up, but I don't think they were allowed to thrive because I think that sometimes people are underestimated, and I don't think that anyone thought that a little pastor basically from Atlanta before it was a big city that was allowed to essentially thrive in education, a guy named Michael King who changed his name to Martin Luther King in his early 20s because he had a poor relationship with his father and then graduated from seminary school and went on. I don't think anyone thought he was going to change the world. I don't think anybody thought in the American South that an African-American person could basically be the inspiration for the Civil Rights Act. I don't think that anyone thought that was possible. So you really got to overcome a lot in order to go past what your intended mission is. Because you'll see a bunch of clips online about this, depending on how far you want to go with the conspiracy. Certain ones are elevated in order to keep everybody else calm. But this one gets elevated and bucks the system. That is not popular. He's also dead.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you something real quick. That was real. That was good. That was good, Bobby. That was good. What was this deal with they saying that Jamie was being cloned and all this stuff? I want to ask y'all. No, I want to ask y'all real quick, man, for real, because I got my views on this. Y'all think they really cloning people?
My thinking, what would be the reason to clone them? Like, what's the reason to clone them?
I got a lot of reasons.
Okay, he makes good movies. Okay, what else?
Clone him in general.
Yeah, I'm talking about cloning him. What would be the purpose? Let's say they did clone him. What would be the reason?
I think, to be honest with you, I don't know if this is happening. That's not where I was going with this. I'm just saying in general, they could clone him and then not have to pay him a salary. But
Jamie Foxx, I think that at one point he was in a serious relationship with a white woman, right?
Jesus Christ.
He's not the one that you need to take out if that's what people are doing.
That's what I'm saying.
And I think he and Precious are on the same wavelength right now. He's not the one. Like Kendrick Lamar.
I'm forced to think. I'm serious. I'm thinking the same thing y'all thinking. I'm forced to think that was being put out there. Y'all can
distraction. Is he gonna say it's a distraction?
Nope.
Okay.
I think it was put out there to promote the movie.
That works.
Okay, sure.
That's scandalous as hell, but I love it.
I mean, it's a good market strategy for suckers. Sure.
Let me put this out here because I got a lot of heat from my family on this. I was talking to my daughter about this. Dad, you shouldn't say that. Dad, that man was really sick. All I'm saying is we still have yet to hear from Jamie himself to say he was sick and near death. We've heard from a lot of people. We heard from his daughter. His daughter said, that man's fine. If you go back in history, very recent history, pay attention. You start to see let me give you a perfect example. When you go back to that stuff that Kanye was saying, at some point, Kanye was coming out with a new album. He was doing certain things. All I'm saying is Jamie ain't never came out and said he was sick. Nothing was wrong with him. And then here's another thing that I reminded my daughter about. They're actors. Like they're always acting. It's like they're always on the job, like a police officer. When do they stop being an actor? You don't know. Dad, that's not right, Dad. You shouldn't say that, man. That man might have really been sick. You shouldn't play like that. I said this. I said, check this out. Do you think that Hollywood put things in front of us that are not true, but people are acting and we accept it as true? Do you think that's ever happened?
Bro, his name is not Jamie Foxx. Let's just start there to your hypothesis. This man has got everyone on earth calling him Jamie Foxx. It is a stage name. Like, of course, Cap is his career. What? What?
I didn't even know that. Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx not his name.
No, it's something I forgot his name. He was born in Texas, like a Play-Doh.
He
Texas.
used that to get on. His story is that he was trying to get on stage early in his career, and they were looking for a female comedian to go up. And so when he found out that there was a Jamie person who was in line, he just went with it. That's how he got on stage. This of course.
So he done cloned himself.
Yes.
Somebody else.
Yes.
He even acted a role ever since.
Yeah, like this is incredible. This is hilarious.
Eric Marlon Bishop. That's his name. So look. So they can say Jamie Foxx, when he plays a character, is a character inside of a character. Until he says, I'm Eric Marlon Bishop, then everything else is just an act. There we go. Scooby-Doo, we solved it. We didn't even need the dog, man.
Oh man, I ran out of my Scooby snacks. Never mind. I would look to my left thinking I had my snacks.
No, but seriously, but so since we solved that, let's move on to the bigger thing. Do you really think they're cloning people though? Seriously, whole human beings?
Not in the little sense that we're talking about. I don't know. Cause I'm looking for my clone right now because she could take over this job. So I don't know. I mean, we could birth clone. Like Bobby got his clone right there.
Yeah, exactly. Nice, hey, nice, nice placement.
Yeah, we can. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm just saying, we can really clone, like Bobby said in the chat. Why we ain't got a Tupac yet? Hell, Kevin Samuel would have came back from the dead if we could clone people. As much people be making maters out of people, we would have been had some clones by now. So I don't know. Let's just say if it's possible, they only going to be high top officials who got the capability of doing so, and they're going to select certain figures who they feel is going to make the most impact. They ain't gonna do it for every soul. Like, I don't see myself being cloned. I ain't that special. So they're gonna choose on who they feel can make an impact on a certain community or demographic to change their narrative. I don't see that being Jamie Foxx, y'all.
What you think, Bobby?
I think I'm going to start primarily with, there was a movie about 15 years ago that came out. It's called The Island, and it addresses this point very poignantly. I think that if there was cloning, they would be used for organ harvesting, and we would see less human trafficking. But the volume of human trafficking suggests they have not mastered cloning yet, because then you would be taking on too much risk as an organization to fund human trafficking when you could just as easily have the expense of cloning and make all that dirty work unnecessary. So I think that that's the best evidence that it's not proficient yet. It might be underway, but like I was saying, it's kind of a blend of what Precious was saying, that ultimately the purpose of it would be to extend the life of people who have resources and power. And if they had a way to do that, they would absolutely already have done it. So Mitch McConnell wouldn't have had whatever happened to him yesterday, where he had a freeze. He'd have something better in his head. So he could do more racism further in time. It can go on longer in Kentucky. But I just don't think that they've mastered that technology yet based on the human trafficking market. It just suggests that they wouldn't exist at the same time, in my opinion.
That's a very sophisticated answer. I like that. I think the only way I would push back on saying, I would say cloning isn't accessible to everybody. I think they are cloning human beings, but I think only it's rogue cloning. I think it's not something that's accessible to everybody. This stuff that's coming out with aliens, after they've hidden it from us for Precious over there last, see, that's why I can't do this with you, man. See, this is it's funny that I get this reaction when I say aliens when they've gone public and said it's true.
I mean, I've always knew that alien was around.
Right.
Just that
but how long? But how long have they said it wasn't, though? That's my point. Knowing that it was, they've said it wasn't. I think it's the same. I think what happened to Henrietta Lacks, I think little stuff like that is a breadcrumb of what they're actually doing. If they can take that woman's cell and then duplicate it and replicate it and start, creating these resolutions for these diseases and stuff, imagine they did it with a whole human being, man. There's some clones running out here. I really do think that some of these people doing these shootings, school shootings that, really, get us really stimulated and stuff. I think some of those people are clones, man. For real. I really do.
Look here. I don't put back nobody.
I can't prove it.
I'm just saying that them coming out saying that aliens exist, when I think anybody with a brain know not to believe anything that come up the mouth of the government and know full well them aliens up there. It's like saying, it's basically saying, Press, you live in a one bedroom apartment. Well, duh, I've known that for quite some time. Now do something about the rent prices. I don't care about no alien coming down here. We know what Area 51's about. It's ghetto, Earth. Alien Earth is ghetto. You get one star. 1 star.
I think that the powers that be will rationalize and justify them cloning to say whether man did it or whether quote unquote biology did it or whatever. It don't really matter. All we are doing is just cloning. So it doesn't really matter. We'll just make another one.
You're right, kid. You're right.
Yeah,
there's some
Jesus.
cloning going around,
All right,
but the
that
question
is
is,
that is definitely a passive aggressive way of saying we need to move into our plan of action. Thank you, Bobby.
I didn't say anything.
Oh my God. Do y'all think y'all be cloned? Do y'all think y'all worthy to be cloned?
They don't want to take care of this guy. They don't want to deal with. They don't want to deal with this. I got 2 kids. I got 3 dogs. They don't want this. That's all I can say.
You think you're at risk of being cloned?
They don't know how much work it is.
Let me go about it in a roundabout way. You know, I got to go deep. I would say yes, and it's in the form of robots. Robots are taking more jobs than so-called immigrants nowadays. Remember, for the longest time, remember they were like, oh, the Mexicans and all these immigrants are taking jobs. Man, they ain't got nothing on robots. Robots are taking your jobs. So if you don't think that they're going to clone regular people like me and you and below on the social ladder, next time when you go to Walmart or your grocery store, think about that when you go to self-service. Think about how many jobs that they just now cloned and they've taken away from a human being. That's the start.
Maybe
that is
so.
the start. These phones, you're already cloned on these phones. These clones are pretty much a cyborg. Make you a cyborg. We're a couple steps away from being a cyborg. Like when I get in my car and I plug this phone in, the phone lights up and says, I'm 42 minutes away from LA Fitness. How did you, whoa, how did you know that? Because it's cloning my patterns. And therefore it becomes an extension of me, which makes me a cyborg saying, I know you're going to LA Fitness. It's going to take you 45 minutes to get there. Hey, you want to know how to get there? Now, let me take it a step further. How this clone and cyborg stuff is going. For real, man. Y'all must not have sit down and listened to Elon Musk for more than 15 minutes. This is the kind of stuff that this dude is talking about in a roundabout way. You know, probably in the next 5 to 10 years, they are going to come up with some kind of digital engineering, right? I think Bobby knows where I'm going. Blind people are going to be able to see, bro. For real. They are. And they're going to be able to do it through some kind of digital or electronics, right? And it's and to tie it into the aliens thing, it's probably some stuff that they didn't learn from one of those ships that they didn't capture. For real though.
I mean, they're already helping people get back their hearing. So I'm not surprised.
But check this out. Okay, we can go hearing aside. I just want to go sight. So say they gave you a chip, right, to improve your sight. Say I was blind. I was legally blind. They gave me a chip. Just say I want to upgrade that chip where I wanted to have a different function, to have something to give me some other capabilities. I keep getting upgrades and they keep putting chips inside me. I'm a cyborg. Now, what if the chips in the computer inside of me has the ability to create its own algorithm? It's over. It's over. It's over. It's over, man. It's over, man. It's straight up Terminator, bro. You know that computers have the capability to create their own algorithms.
They've had that for about a decade. But the scary part with the computers is that they say that every 5 or 10 years it has an exponential leap where it doubles its own capacity. And so the last leap is the one where the computer beat the best chess player in the world, and it was this magical moment for AI because the whole thought was that although it's better at computation, it would never be able to compete with ingenuity as far as something that's unpredictable. But if it can respond in a chess game to a move that doesn't know you're going to make until you make it, then it's over already. And now we have AI generated art. So it means that there's not an actual limitation. So of course, all the stuff that we worry about with Star Wars and Star Trek is all just the dystopian future that we three will be dead for, fortunately. But all that stuff is coming. But I won't be here, so I ain't worried about it. Good luck, y'all.
Yeah, I ain't gonna be here for it either.
Braylon is gonna be there, my guy.
No, so that's the question. That's actually the question: is whether it's 100 years or 200 years or 5 days. We don't actually know. So it's kind of a joke. It's
definitely gonna happen within your son's lifetime. Definitely.
Well, then he's got to be prepared. I mean, I think what you're going to see, actually, someone's going to come out, and that'll be a clone. Someone's going to come out and say that this is a social equity tool, because what will happen is that someone will suggest an implant to increase your capacity to compete across the spectrum for people who are coming from lower income levels, and then what they will do instead is they will essentially control them and turn them into whatever our lowest level of workforce is. That's the dystopia that I see. But who am I? Fresh.
Now that we talking about AI, that kind of brings up the writer strike that's going on in Hollywood right now. All that's going on with I'm not sure if the actors are also going on strike, but I just know the writers are. All it takes is someone idea to be cloned, and hey, Hollywood may not need a need for writers anymore. Or even actors, because they're gonna find somebody to clone them. They're like, oh, Ryan Gosling want to play no more Barbie movies. Guess what? They're gonna clone him, and they're gonna use him in every other movie from here on out. They don't need the new They don't need the Ryan Gosling no more. So that's why a lot of people find the AI so scary. Although AI been around like 50, 60 years. That's the funny part about it. But I think now it just really advanced itself. So who knows? Next round, I turn on the TV, gonna be another woman. Hey, that girl look familiar. Hey, that's Precious P. How she got there? And then everything go downhill.
So look, we've already been there before, right? It's called cartoons. AI will be the new cartoon. It's called video games. They've been prepping us for this for years, for decades. It's nothing more than a cartoon or a video game.
Hey, that'd be cool as hell if it turned into a video game.
So the next level of it is not actual human beings creating some kind of capital from actually acting in it, but actually being the engineers and the producers of these actual AI, images and presentations and productions. So now it's just us sitting in front of a screen and then at our remote locations and see who can come up with the next film, with AI characters in it.
And that remind me, Apple's coming out with a visual eyeglasses. I'm not sure y'all been seen it on a website. That it's like a 3D. You put on the glass and you can literally see like a whole different dimension inside of it. Like it's like $500-$600 for it. Yeah, you have to go on their website. It's these glasses that people can put on, kind of like you put you in a whole new world that you can see your phone, all the other stuff. It's like a pair of glasses you put on.
Yeah. So my understanding is that they're now selling. Hey, I'm talking. They're now selling space in that physical universe. Like in that universe, they're like selling the space like it's real property.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you believe it's there, then it is there. You put it. I'm saying if you're willing to pay for it, that's all they need. That's all currency is. This currency, the actual dollar with those white people on them, does it really exist? Not really. Don't really exist.
Do Bitcoin exist? No
Nope.
cryptocurrency exists.
Exactly. That's a perfect example. That's all that is, man. Just like when the white man went into the indigenous aboriginal societies and they saw them trading cowrie shells and yams. That had no value to them. That didn't exist. They're like, nah, those aren't worth anything. We're gonna create a whole monetary sovereignty. And when they try to trade with those yams and those cowrie shells and those clams, like your money ain't good here. Those don't exist with us. That's garbage. That's a trinket. We're only going to give you payment for your labor or for your goods and barter with with our king on them. Well, the indigenous people don't even know who this dude is or this queen is in some far off land. That's how it's going to be. And that's my plan of action. You know what I mean? Chris over there laughing.
That's I'm laughing at. I'm looking at Bobby Baby. You can look at. I'm looking at him.
Hey, that's my plan of action. My plan of action is this is that deep. Whether it's a clone or it's real, make sure that you have determined the value you put on anything that you have in your life. Like you determine your value system of what you're gonna, put into it and what efforts. That's what's deep to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like I thought about that when I went to the thrift store today. I was trying to find, some stuff for me to play tennis with. I'm like, I'm putting a value on this. That's probably not a value to someone else at all. The other people who are over here in this thrift store, they're probably looking for something. They ain't trying to look for no tennis bag to carry the racket on. They probably don't know how to play tennis. I place that value on that. But me placing the value on that, what is that going to lead to? Is it going to lead to me being more successful? That will be my plan of actions. Like whatever you put your value into, make sure that it fits into a routine or a plan for success. Because a lot of stuff that we do in this culture, it doesn't even lead to our success. But we keep doing it. We keep cloning non-productive results. And we never really stop to think of why we do that. Why do I keep doing the same thing over and over, cloning a routine that doesn't benefit me? And then how do I stop? It's kind of like drinking. It's like empty calories. It serves no purpose in your life. A lot of what we do, we're just cloning stuff that serves no purpose in our life. Cloning activities and behaviors that do nothing for us. I don't know. What y'all think? What's y'all plan of action based on what we talked about? I think I might have just zigzagged into.
Let's see. To spin off what you said, I don't know what the real true plan of action is about this cloning thing because it's still technically up in the air. But based off what you just said, I mean, why we continue to do it? Because we don't know no other programs. Well, you don't know other program, then you ain't got much to choose from if you're not aware of the other programs that exist.
Right.
So for you to know about the other programs, you have to be around other clones that don't have the same program as you to pick up what they have and insert into, or in this case, put a chip in your head to do something and learn something totally new. You know what? This kind of reminds me of my RPG game. Now we seen here talking about chips and learning stuff. That kind of reminds me of my video game. You have to, in order to learn something, you got to get to the next level or be around somebody who got different qualities from you, and you pick up their qualities and learn their stuff. So you become a more well-rounded character. But other than that, I don't have much of a point of action when it comes to the clone. I don't think Jamie Foxx is cloning anybody. I think this movie probably was already done before he got sick, possibly. So that's probably why they already launched it. I did see a picture of him. I'm not sure if y'all ever seen it. Had a bob. I'm not sure that was really him, but he looked very skinny. And, when people have strokes and been sick, they tend to lose a lot of weight. So with that being said, I hope
how did we know that?
Well.
How did we know that picture wasn't edited?
I mean, there's that too. That's why I said we haven't heard anything from him. All I can say is I wish him well. I hope he's okay, and I hope he focus on his health. Cause I know he in his mid late 50. I think black men need to be very more careful around that age. But other than that, in terms of the cloning, you take what you need. You take what you need to take from the situation and just go with it. Because right now, I still don't think it's anything to really be said at this point. And a matter of fact, you need to ask yourself, are you worthy to be a clone? And if you are, think you are worthy, should you be concerned or should you be worried if you can be cloned?
Mm. What you think, Bobby? Plan of action. Take us out.
I'll be lucky if Braylon allows me to say anything. He gets excited when people are talking. He wants to be a part of the conversation. I think that the Precious and I, we actually all had the same exact point at this particular moment, which is it worth it? Because if you are going to play a role in this game, then make sure it's a role that actually suits you, that it's a role that you can feel good about. Because if it's a role you can't feel good about and you're just an unhappy clone, then that's really the worst case scenario. Not that you're a clone, because we have no control over this overarching institution that we're part of, but we can control to some extent whether or not we enjoy what we're doing. If you know, or whether or not we have a positive impact, because there are still positive things that are happening within the game, so to speak. So I would just say, make sure that you can go home and sleep good and be comfortable with what you're doing. Because I think that the worst case scenario is when you're doing somebody else's work and you don't enjoy it. And it's not feeding you and it's not supporting your family. It's got to be all those things in order for it to be worth it.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're a clone, do you have free will?
That's like an illusory choice, which is something we talk about all the time in ethics, you know, where we ask if something is truly a choice or not. So if it appears to be a choice, it may be. But if I say to you, are you going to pay your rent next month? You are presented with a choice, but it is an illusion, because at the end of the day, if you don't want to be homeless, then you must pay your rent.
Okay.
I think if something that is engineered to create its own algorithms, then you are basically cloning the actual ability to have free will. And that's already been done. It's already been done. Look, let me tell you what's happening right now. I think, and Hollywood's a part of this too. They want you to question everything that you call reality. Why? Because it creates a constant condition of fear, and fear equals money, and fear equals control. They want you to question everything you see, you think, you feel, you smell, everything. It's even, that's not meat, that's a Beyond Burger. That's not a cow. But it tastes like one.
This man is dang. I forgot.
You're not gonna finish that. You're not gonna continue that, are you?
Man,
What?
There's another obvious example, but I ain't gonna say nothing.
Well, and androgyny has been a part of culture since the beginning of time. They call it trans right now, but androgyny, which is not the exact same, but it's definitely adjacent, has been around since the beginning of time.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's been around since the beginning of time. So, but what has not been around since the beginning of time is the full manifestation of it from a European or colonial point of view. And I think that what we're following right now is post-colonial mindsets and how they see the world and from their perspective. We're looking, for the most part, from the perspective of the colonizer or the people that won and wrote the books and get to make all the decisions, and i.e. their faces on the money. That's mainly the perspective that we're looking through. Because if they can continue to dangle the money in front of us, human beings are all about incentives and punishment, rewards and benefits and whatnot. If they can keep dangling that money in front of us, then they can control us. And then we'll continue to look at it from the perspective that's going to provide the incentives for us to keep going. Point blank. So even when we look at something like, you know what I'm saying, sexuality, it's from the perspective of the colonizer and how they can make money off of sexuality, how they can make money off of holidays, you know what I'm saying, how they can make money of celebrating certain deities. It's all from their perspective. That's why every Christmas or, you know, Easter, there's always going to be a group of people reminding us, hey, man, that's not really his birthday. He didn't really die and come back. Easter is really a pagan holiday that was performed by the Greeks. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're looking at it from a matrix that's been created, you know what I'm saying, by the colonizer. I mean, all these movies, I really do feel are being put in front of us to really just have us always questioning what we see. Is it really real? Are they really cloning people? Are they really acting? Is that Jamie or is that Eric? Who is it? Thank you, Bobby, for that tidbit, you jerk. I'm sitting around thinking this man is Jamie, man. Where's Eric, man? Hey, they cloned Eric.
I wonder what his kids. I wonder what their kids call him. They call him Eric on the like emergency contact. Is it Eric or is it Jamie Foxx?
His
any of the women
kids
that
call him.
Gonna call him Eric.
His kids call him Dad.
But I'm talking about an emergency contact. When something happened to them, I know they got Jamie Foxx or they got Eric Bishop. And then they come and say, "Oh man, you look just like Jamie Foxx." They go back and process the paper. Now I realize that's really Jamie Foxx. I don't know.
Even his name is a clone. Like it cloned the X. Like it's X. It's two X's. It's not even one. It cloned the X. Boy, I tell you, man, these guys are fool, man. It's FOXX. It ain't even just one X. I like, God dang it. They didn't clone the X.
But he come back gonna have four X's at 4X's X.
Yeah, that's how you gonna know.
Yeah, you know which X it is. Jamie Foxx the third got 3 X's.
Anyways, it's been C Talk. We've been on here for almost an hour and a half. This has been a great show. Make sure you share this. Make sure you comment. And like again, if you want to donate to to myself or you know what I'm saying, any one of the people, they can Precious and Bobby, if they so please, they can put their Cash App and their Venmo in there. $ Logic Man, Venmo @Logic Man. We out. It's been C Talk. We love you.